As time moves on in Seattle, one of the fastest growing cities in the country, demand for housing continues to rise. Amidst the influx of new faces and new wealth into the city of cranes, some wonder what may become of the old. The cost of owning an apartment in Seattle has nearly doubled in the past decade, which may not be a problem for those just moving into Seattle, but it could be detrimental to those already living there. The sudden rush of wealth into previously deteriorating urban neighborhoods is called gentrification. Does gentrification embody out with the old and in with the new? To answer this, we first have to define what gentrification is. So, gentrification is like this bowl of water. You've got all these people living in this one single area or neighborhood, and in this specific level of water. When you add more water, things can just kind of get drowned out. Like those two. And that's what happens in gentrified neighborhoods. Money gets poured into your area, and as the economic value of the area increases, so does the rent. So at times, we'll see low-income families that have no choice but to move out simply because they can no longer afford to live there. There's a huge spotlight on gentrification for pushing out low-income and colored families, which is the main reason why gentrification gets such a bad rap. The main point that people absorb into their understanding. Gentrification does have its benefits, an obvious one being the overall improvement or revitalization of a neighborhood. Besides the apparent uplift of the area's look, this includes decreased crime, rising property values, and the improvement of credit scores, especially of lower-income residents. The increased economic value and rent that it brings can allow the government to earn more tax money and in turn fund and improve public services. In addition, gentrification doesn't necessarily inflate prices so drastically that it forces people to move. It's a possibility rather than a likely probability. The Google definition of gentrification is the process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle-class taste. Nothing about low-income families, nothing about inflating rent. Other definitions will specify the cause of this renovation as the influx of more affluent residents. Suffice to say, the definition of gentrification is specifically the investment into an urban neighborhood. The huge aspect that's weighing gentrification's reputation down is the enormity of its moral injustice, part of that being objectively unrelated to gentrification. Works such as Ta-Nehisi Coates' reparations essays and A Raisin in the Sun highlight how unfair gentrification can make people's situations. But what connects gentrification to the inequity of modern-day segregation is the adjective low income. A Raisin in the Sun provides insight to the blatant racism that contributed so heavily to the young girl's standing. Through the play, partially adapted from her real life, Lorraine Hansberry demonstrates how racism limits the young girls and American families alike. Coates' essays clarify the depth of that inequity, and how it's been so deeply rooted into American soil that it takes the form of modern-day segregation. Both works explain why we've come to more often associate minorities with low income. Our quick opposition towards gentrification is an amplified response towards its associated immoral effects. Although gentrification is a good thing, it can be very true that it benefits the area rather than those inhabiting it. The rise of demand to live in a certain area, coupled with a lack of housing, is one cause of gentrification. One way that we can counter this is through zoning regulation. The government allots certain areas for housing and industry, but also limits with the intensity of units in those areas. By implementing mixed-purpose buildings, which would be buildings that have stores on the bottom and apartments on the top, a city can accommodate new businesses and the growing demand for housing.
Okay. Just get more views of, like, the street and the bunnies, which it's not focusing on.
Oh, you can stop.
Oh, there it goes. Bye, bunny.
The way the trees, hedges are like looking at the fence.
Yeah.
That's really good for the grass.
Man, I'd really hate to see what they do to these places though.
I don't
if
think
they sell.
anybody would do anything to that place, so it's so nice.
Nah.
I can't imagine.
They'd tear it down. Second half of the lawn would be one house. They'd split the driveway, that'd be another house, and that'd be another house.
Gross. Monopoly.
Yep.
Going on.
Same thing that'll probably happen to this place. What they'll do is they'll split it. This house is very nice, but what they'll do is they'll split it, and then
So
that'll become like 3 stories, 3 stories, 4 stories. Same thing, same thing.
This is what we should have done.
Well, see, this and those houses basically used to look the same.
So
But-
that used to be like over here. But then they split it in half and
This used to be a really big plot of land that had a couple of fruit trees on it and just one little house. And it was way back in the corner. All my childhood I used to play in that field. And they tore it all down and built these massive, ugly looking things. Did the same thing to that house. Used to be just a little red house, yard in front, yard in back. Of course, people there were alcoholics and drug addicts, but now there's no yard. It's massive.
It's a good material. It was some grade A prime big material.
I'll do the same thing to Shirley's house. Tear down that big tree. Yeah, the saddest thing about the gentrification in this area is the loss of the trees. We have big trees all over the place.
Stop. Stop.
We have big trees all over the place, and I'm still recording.
Oh.
There used to be big trees all over the place. They took them down. I mean, some of them were for safety reasons, but yeah. So over here, actually, you might be able to find the stump if I look, but in here, there. Oops, over here. Yeah. So there's the remnants of a massive cottonwood tree.
Because it was dangerous?
Well, yeah, they took it down.
Was it like that one back there?
Like the evergreen?
Was it like tall? Like
It was
could
really
fall
tall.
over?
If it fell over, it could have either hit that house or my house. And the goddamn
Do you guys
Starlings
have a
are back.
garage?
It's not really a garage, but actually, the guy who owns this land was going to turn it into a gas station. Actually, I think it used to be a gas station.
Really?
Yeah.
And then it got torn down?
It got torn down, and the guy just never built anything, so it just got overrun. And of course, they always say, oh, we're going to clear it out and put up more housing, but they don't ever do anything. Yeah. And instead, they just dump old cars here, which this used to be all cleared out, but they,
Okay, I have an idea for a much more compelling one.
what?
We could start off in my backyard where like I remember looking out my window and I would almost cry because we got rid of our little park, our little playground, playset type thing in the backyard. And I remember like sometimes I would instinctively look out the window and expect it to be there, but it's not anymore.
I did the same thing with my cat. Used to the blue house right here definitely used to be just a small little house with a yard. Same with this one. And as you can see, I don't even know if they're done building it. And it's been, I don't know how many years. But yeah. And I think, you know, still talking about like areas I grew up in, I think the one thing I really hate about all the new housing is that all of the new people that come in with it there's the two houses right behind
Oh,
us.
this is a nice backyard. Dang.
Actually, yeah.
Really pretty backyard and garden.
Yeah,
They must be happy.
Fina,
Oh my god, this is like what we have at my house.
yeah, Fina really likes gardening.
Oh, you know her?
Yep, I know these people. Connor is now working as a pizza chef, so they built a fire oven pizza thing.
That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah, no, these people have been there forever, since before I was born.
Oh, because that's your house right there. I don't
Yeah.
know. It didn't connect in my brain.
Yeah. But it's like just the people that moved in like the 2 streets down, they barrel up and down this little alleyway. And so we have to be really careful like not to let animals
This little alleyway?
this little alleyway
What do you mean they barrel?
like 30 miles an hour
They go down this?
up and down.
Why?
I don't know. But yeah, that too. I mean,
That would.
I can even show you houses of confirmed pedophiles, and there's a few drug dealers in the neighborhood, I know that much. Yeah, like I said, this red house, there used to be just not very nice people living there, but
Yeah, like you said earlier.
but the only problem with all the new housing is you get new people, and a lot of them have been some not very nice people.
So it's like not exactly replacing it with nicer people.
It's
Then you're also
it's
not really getting rid of nicer people.
Yeah, well, I think what gentrification is doing in this neighborhood is it's getting rid of the affordable housing, and it's removing families in place of like richer people.
Yeah, I wish we hadn't been told to do a script. Gentrification isn't a simple, straightforward, good or bad topic. It's a bit of a complicated situation that we place into this grayer area of morality because we're so often shown the negative side effects. It's devastating to find that people have to move to a completely new area because of circumstances that are out of their control. But it's also a great thing to see a neighborhood grow and flourish beyond what it once was.